Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on Solomon's Temple. My name is Solomon Zane Shams. It's so great to be with you. I just have a quick one that I want to talk about, something that's been in the news, and I just ask myself, so how do we address this as Christians? Because on Solomon's Temple, that's what we try to do. We try to look at things, we try to look at issues, and then we ask ourselves, how do we address it as Christians? Because that's very important. You don't want to address issues like every other person. You want to be able to bring in some sort of intelligent and biblical way of thinking when you look at an issue. Be it a political issue, an educational issue, a social issue, spiritual issue. You're trying to put yourself in the position of God in the way that you think. What would God want you to do? How would God want you to see things? So that's what we're going to be talking about. So thank you so much for joining me once again. If this is your very first time, please do subscribe. Subscribe right now and right away. Encourage other people to subscribe. There are other great videos, about 200 videos on this YouTube channel that you can check out that I'm sure you're going to find interesting. Maybe, just maybe, God is going to speak to you just like he's been speaking to us all here. So please subscribe right away. Yeah, so we got Masha here who is in London. She's in London locked in. Locked in again? What do you mean, Masha? Like, I thought London was getting more freer. We just went into a lockdown yesterday. So maybe you guys are on a lockdown. You're locked out, is it? Please explain more. Damali say, Uncle Solomon, watching you from Uganda. Help us bring charlatans down by the grace of God. Amen. Telma, all the way from Zimbabwe. Thank you, Telma. Elena, all the way from Cape Town. Thank you so much for being here with us. Abibatu, she said, I'm happy to catch your live stream today, watching from Obi. Is that Madison, MD? Yeah, in the US, I guess. Gladzo from Limpopo. Rose is from Abu Dhabi, from the beautiful United Arab Emirates. Thank you just for joining us, Sheila from Kenya. Kendi is here with us from the US. And from Zambia is Edward. Thank you guys. Appreciate each and every one of you. Also Zinande from Limpopo. Chus is also from Dubai. So we got a couple of Abu Dhabis here. Titsi is saying, say hello to your wife and kids. Thank you. I will make sure I do that. Abibatu, yeah, from Maryland. Okay, thank you. Jessica from Lebanon. Have we ever had anyone from Lebanon here? So we got quite a lot of people, and also we got from Russia. Start all the way from Russia. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So this is just going to be a quick one, right? Because I have to just make it concise and deal with the issue that I feel is something that we need to talk about. So here's the story, right? Ethiopian Airlines and Juju man. So when you're African, we hear Juju man, we're talking about voodoo man. We're talking about in South Africa or Southern Africa, what you call maybe a sangoma or nyanga or witch doctor, babalao. Where I come from in the northern part of Nigeria, you call it boka, people that you need to consult to get to God. They are the bridge between you and God. So that in itself is a problem, isn't it? It's a problem for humanity when you have to go through someone to get to God. Some other human like you to give you access to God, to tell you what God is saying. That in itself is a problem. And that has kept a lot of people in bondage for a very long time. Thank God for Christianity, where you can have access directly to God through Jesus. And Jesus is part of the Godhead, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. So you're dealing with them, 3 in 1. You're dealing, with God himself. So we have that access. But even in Christianity, that's why we see the rise of charlatans and false prophets. They've been able to make sure that they are the intermediary between you and God, which is not the way that it should be. You have full access to the throne of God. You have full access to talk to God and to communicate with him when you have issues. But in Africa, we've been kept in bondage for a very, very long time.
for a very, very long time. We've been in bondage. We've been in bondage because we sort of like have sort of like have given up our our rights. We're so superstitious sometimes with so many things that we get to a place where we give up our rights to other people. We called, people who are gifted, people who can do certain rituals for us to get to God, and that's what happened here in Togo. So here's the story, right? In Togo, if you know Lome, Lome is the capital of Togo, and Togo is in West Africa, right? Lome is the capital of Togo, and Togo is in West Africa. Togo is just very close to Nigeria. Between Nigeria and Togo is a country called Benin. So they're French speaking, and let me read you a little bit about Togo in itself, just to create a background of this Ethiopian airline that had an issue in Lome at the airport in Togo. And when they had that issue, this is what they did in Togo. So let me read you a little bit about the religion in Togo as a country. Almost half of the population is Christian, right? Many of whom are Roman Catholic. So if you're Christian and then you're a Roman Catholic, that in itself, there's a lot of questions. Although there are also substantial Protestant, Independent, and other Christian communities, since independence, the Roman Catholic Church in Togo has been headed by a Togolese archbishop. Although 1/3 of Togo's population adheres to various ancestral forms of belief, including Yoruba-based sects associated with voodoo, more than 1/8 of the population is Muslim. So about 1/3, they adhere to ancestral forms of belief, right? So this is what happened in Togo. In Togo, just by the weekend, there was an incident that happened at the airport in Lome in Togo, where an Ethiopian Airline B787 Dreamliner aircraft was hit by lightning on approach to landing at the airport in Lome, Togo. So this Dreamliner was landing and it was hit by lightning, which is obviously that has to do with weather. That is the creation of God. Things like this happen. So when it was approaching the tarmac, to land, it was hit by lightning. Nothing catastrophic happened. It wasn't like there were people who lost their lives or whatever, but it shook, the plane, and there was some sort of fear and all that kind of stuff. And also, when it comes to airspace, the leaders there, the leaders from the airport to the government leaders, they felt, this has something to do with something, maybe something wrong or some evil coming or whatever. So what they did was they now invited Juju men. They now invited like traditional doctors or witch doctors, I don't know the appropriate way to call it, to come and do and perform a bit of rituals there, right? So they invited these people. These people here. So this is them here when they arrived at the airport, right? You can see the way they're dressed. They're part of the team of the traditional, like Juju men and Juju women who were called to come and do rituals, around the plane and around the airport for safety, I guess. Now, when you experience something like lightning hitting the plane, thank God there wasn't no casualty and the plane was okay. Instead of trying to consult and trying to get engineers and scientists and meteorologists, which people that deal with weathers and climate, to have answers to it and to have some sort of understanding of what happened, you brought in witch doctors, you brought in, Juju man. For me, I just feel this is going backwards, totally backwards. This is them here approaching the B787 Dreamliner aircraft. You can see it there on the plane, B787. So they had access all the way to the airline, and also to the plane and around the airport. They have full access. Full access. You can see them here. You know, they went into the plane, prayed and came out. You can see them. You know, they had like water or some sort of substances that they are putting all around as they move on. You see them whilst they were going up the airline. So when we have a situation that has to do with lightning, yeah, I know we can try to understand it from a God's perspective, but which God are we talking about? Obviously, their God is totally different. And for me, this is instead of because obviously they're going to pay them for all this, instead of investing in trying to raise engineers, aviation engineers that can really deal with stuff like this, instead of investing to raise scientists, meteorologists, people that can really read the weather, understand climate far much more, and they can provide answers from a scientific perspective, we are now bringing in Juju men. We're keeping them in business. That's what's happening. Anyway, let me play you a video, just some sort of a very, small, a short video around. You will see them going around the plane and praying. Did you see that? So they were going around, pouring stuff, spreading stuff around, and obviously they are doing some sort of a ritual, and also maybe some sort of a prayer, chanting or whatever. Let me play it again. There you go. So Ethiopian Airline is the biggest airline in Africa, the most dependable airline in Africa. I flew it quite a number of times, and a lot of Africans. Is actually the most profitable airline in Africa. So kudos to Ethiopian Airline. But when you begin to try to deal with issues this way, a problem this way, was it really a problem, or was it just part of nature? Yeah, I think only science can help us understand what had happened. Yes, God can reveal that to us too. But when you begin to consult Juju men to help you sanitize and deal with certain issues, then for me, we're going backwards. This is what keeps Africa backwards. This is what keeps us away from really moving forward. We're not investing in the right people. We're not investing in trying to raise aviation engineers, people that can study climate, that can really understand why that had happened and how to avoid it. But we're not investing in that. When we're paying Juju men to come and do that. So for me, there's a huge problem, not just from a Christian perspective, which is who I am, but from just a perspective of being an African, and just asking, how long are we gonna keep depending on that? Because obviously these decisions wasn't made by people who are uneducated to invite this Juju men and traditional wherever to come and do all that they have to do. It wasn't done by people who were illiterate. No, they were invited by people who are educated, people who are in government, people who are in politics, people who are in charge of an airport. So it leaves me with just a whole lot of questions, and asking myself, is that the appropriate and right way to deal with it? Even for me as a Christian, would my best way be to go to God, for God to explain to me directly what had happened when that, Dreamliner was landing at the airport in Lome, Togo, and then there was lightning? Or is God saying, good, listen, I've given men and women wisdom through science, through aviation, through, whatever, so we can understand and explain situations like this and be able to get solutions in the future to situations like this. Because God gives us wisdom. These traditional Juju men that came to the airport and do that, they're not going to deal with the problem long term. What if it happens tomorrow? We're going to bring them again. It happens, next week we're going to bring them again and over again. Or we're going to invest really in training people, in allowing people and empowering younger people to train and to be able to understand climate, to be able to understand aviation, just so they can be able to deal with this, even bring a solution to a lot of maybe airlines and planes, and create certain sort of devices that can read weather from a distance, know that listen, in 30 minutes ahead of you, there's going to be a lightning that's going to strike. So maybe you can take a different route. But we are bringing in men and women, traditional Juju men. Yes, I understand. They have maybe some degree of understanding the climate or the weather or that context where they are. But for me, is that the best way of dealing with it? No, it isn't the best way. It isn't at all. We must find long-term solutions. We must find long-term solutions. We must find solutions that would empower us. We must. We must. But this for me didn't show that we're really finding long-term solutions. Jessica Morrison here is saying this is very dangerous. People will be traveling with demons. Those are some of the things. If you look at it from an African from a Christian perspective, I know not everyone is Christian. Majority of you guys here are Christian, so which is good. But there are implications when you bring such people. There are implications. I'm looking at some of the Frank here is saying very sad for seeing this with Ethiopian Airlines. And that's just a fact. Ethiopian Airline shouldn't have allowed it, but the authorities at the airport in Lome in Togo, they allowed it. So they can do it around the plane or they can do it around the airport because the airport belongs to them anyway. Teso here is saying the question we could ask is, have they been doing this the whole time? Because this may feel wrong from the perspective of a Christian, but you can't argue with tangible results. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, what is the best option? That's what I said. What is the best option? Is the way that it was done this way, inviting them to do the rituals that they perform the best way? I don't know if they've been doing it all the time, the whole time or not. Even if they've been doing it the whole time, is that a long-lasting solution? That could have been an opportunity for the nation of Togo or in Africa to actually begin to say, look, let's empower people to go study weather, to go study engineering, just so we can have a long-term solution. Maybe we can create even a solution to the whole world, a device that we can put on every plane that can read the weather better than anything, even before you get there, to avoid such lightning. Simple. We have the wisdom. I'm sure they've been doing it all the time. I'm sure they get them invited because it has to do with lightning. Africans, when there's lightning, they feel something is wrong. You know, Africans, you know, a lot of Africans that are afraid of lightning. Yes, and I'm not saying lightning doesn't destroy or whatever, but the way that Africans are afraid of lightning, you would think sometimes it's like Satan himself coming. Primi here said, I'm so disappointed. Wow, Ethiopian Airlines. Mommy in the UK saying, wow, this is not of God. Gloria is saying, I will never fly Ethiopian Airways again. I flew with them a few times from Europe to Africa. No, Gloria, you can fly Ethiopian Airways. It's fine. But you as a child of God, make sure you take authority whilst you embark on that flight. Many people are disappointed, you know. Lula is saying, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. Karim is here, is saying, yes, we African full of wisdom, indeed. You're saying here, let's hear from Malema, Maponga, Lumumba. I don't think this was wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm saying, is that the best solution? That we have to do that every time we have a plane is trying to land in Africa somewhere and there is lightning, then we go and bring Juju men to do that. Is that the best solution? Other parts of the world, do they do that? In Japan, do they do that? In China, do they do that? Or they try to look at the scientific answer to it? And science is of God. Science is not an enemy of God. In the UK, in the US, in Czech Republic, in Brazil, do they do that? Do they invite them to come do that? Or there is a better scientific solution to it? We must never disengage science from God. Science is an expression of God's wisdom. Yes, I understand some scientists do not use it in the way God would want them to use their wisdom. But science is an expression of the wisdom of God that he has given men and women to find solutions, health solutions, aviation solution, health solutions in so many different ways. Lata, I like the way you put it. The situation is not even spiritual for them to have invited Juju men. There was no need for spiritual resolution. It's not a spiritual issue, you know, because in Africa we try to think everything. That's why when we see lightning is coming, we run. We think it's a spiritual thing. Anything happens, spiritual thing. So we go and get Juju man. Anything happens is a spiritual thing. We go and get Juju man. We go and visit a witch doctor. We go to a Sangoma. We go to a Babalao. Everything. Things are not going on well. Something happened. Is spiritual. Who says it's spiritual? Who says it's spiritual? First, you have to ask yourself, is this actually spiritual? For me, this case is not a spiritual case. It's a scientific issue, not a spiritual issue. Yes, we must pray. I agree. Yes, we must believe in God. Yes, we must ask God for solution, but he would give us solution through science because that's God within the science realm. Rachel here is saying, why now? Simply study weather. Planes are prone to be struck with lightning in flight. It's normal. Very normal. Very normal. Instead of concentrating and say, how do we even, like I said, create a device where we know that the lightning might strike in 15 minutes, in 15 minutes time, and the device that there would now ask you to slow down or take a different route. That would be an answer to the world. That would be Africa now to the world. Africa finding solution to the world. But anyway, thank you guys. I just wanted to share that with all of you guys. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, Solomon's Temple. There are other great videos that you can check out there. I'll be back again at 8 p.m. tonight. I'll be interviewing a doctor, a woman who is a mother and a wife. Her husband, who was with her, they're not divorced, but he left her. He's a gospel artist and also a pastor. He left her and currently residing with his girlfriend while pastoring. Can you believe it? So I'm going to be talking to her tonight at 8 p.m. So please join me at that time. God bless you and see you later.